Hi, it's Mike Pangia. Let's make some French press coffee. The water you use is important for making good coffee. But unless your tap water is loaded with iron or other impurities, God forbid lead, it's probably adequate for making a decent cup of coffee. I use the filtering system in my refrigerator door for my coffee. Works out pretty well. A tea kettle like this can get your water to the perfect temperature for French press coffee, 200 degrees Fahrenheit. Let's take a look at our French press. As you can see, the one I have here is metal. It's stainless steel. I prefer it to the more common glass ones for a couple of reasons. Number one, the glass ones do break when you're cleaning them, when you have them in the sink, when they're going from extreme hot to extreme cold. I've broken several of them and they're a bit pricey to replace. So this stainless steel version has a couple of advantages. Number one, the main one, is it doesn't break. The second one is that it's made with a double wall, so it's insulated much better than a glass one to keep your coffee hot once it's made. French press consists of the pot itself, of course, and a plunger with a fine screen mesh, which you push down through the grains and water, separates the grains out and pushes them to the bottom of the pot. It has a cut at the top, which you can see here, to allow you to pour out the spout, or to turn the other way to seal it and keep the coffee hot. They come in different sizes. I have a great big one here for when I have guests. I have a little tiny one for when I want just a little bit of coffee. Here's the equipment I use for making French press coffee. Coffee bean grinder, the French press pot itself, the tea kettle, and very importantly, a kitchen scale, a small insulated thermos cup, and a coffee filter screen. Before you use your French press pot the first time, it's important to know how much coffee it can hold. It'd be embarrassing to add the grounds and then the requisite amount of water to go with that amount of grounds and find out the water doesn't fit because you've got not enough room in the pot. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to use my kitchen scale. You don't have to use a kitchen scale if you don't have one. You can measure it with a measuring cup. I'm going to use my kitchen scale. I'll zero it. Now I'm going to add water to within about 2 inches of the top. That'll allow room for coffee grounds later when we're actually making coffee. Okay, comes to 857 grams. I'm going to use my magic Alexa to figure out what that is divided by 15, the ratio I use. Alexa, what's 857 divided by 15?
857 divided by 15 is 57.1333.
Okay, let's call it 57. What that means is the maximum amount of coffee I'll be using is 57 grams if I want to make a full pot. Before you start making your French press coffee, you should heat the vessels, the coffee pot, and if you're using a thermos cup to store it later, that also. Tap water, hot enough to do the job. You don't need anything special. Now we can get down to the business of making coffee. Okay, let's make some coffee. First thing I want to mention is beans. A lot of coffee aficionados will recommend you buy exotic beans. Now, I must be a reverse snob because it doesn't mean an awful lot to me. I've spent the money, I've bought the better beans, and I find that it doesn't make much difference to me. As long as they are fresh ground, I kind of lean towards Colombian and a medium roast. Other than that, it doesn't seem to make much difference to me. Find out for yourself. Don't take my word for it. The important thing is the proper making of the coffee. Pay attention there, and I think you'll get good results. As I mentioned, I use a ratio by weight of 15 to 1. That is 1 part coffee beans and 15 parts water. So here we go. I'm zeroing my scale, and from my experience, I use 32 grams of coffee. I do the same every day. I don't have to do the math every day. A little too much. I like to get it down a little bit. 32, perfect. Okay, the bags that these coffee beans come in are real good for storage. Tuck in the sides, turn the top down, and use the sealing strips to close it tight. There's a pretty good method of storing your beans. I recommend a cool, dry place. Don't freeze them. Okay, I've got my 32 grams of beans. I'm going to put them in my fancy coffee grinder. You don't need one this fancy, as I explained before. You can use a simple little hand grinder like this if you're inclined. It's good exercise to crank that thing. I have my water already heated up to 200 degrees, so we don't have to wait for it. Although it doesn't take that long with this type of machine. Okay, there's my 32 grams. It looks like the consistency is like breadcrumbs. That's what we're looking for when you adjust your grind. Okay, now I'm going to retrieve my preheated French press. Dump out the hot water. Zero to scale. Put in the coffee. Now it's 32. That'll mean 480 grams of water. I know that. I'm not so good in math. I know it because I do it every day. I make the same amount every day. 450, 460, 69, 78, 80, 82. Well, 2 grams isn't going to kill us. Okay. The next thing that I recommend that you don't see in a lot of the coffee preparation instruction books is at this point, stir the heck out of it. At this point, stirring it will release the coffee essence into the water and make it more flavorful. So that's a step you get from Mike that you don't see anywhere else. Now, time it. Alexa, set coffee timer 4 minutes and 10 seconds.
Coffee timer, 4 minutes and 10 seconds. Starting now.
I like about 4:20 actually, but it took me a few seconds before I told Alexa to get on the stick and start timing it. Okay, so that's being timed right now. Alexa, cancel timer. Okay, when your coffee timer goes off, you push the plunger down. And in my case, I'll get my thermal cup, dump the hot water out of it. Something unique that I do that you won't see in the other coffee books. At this point, I'll strain the coffee to get what I think of as the coffee dust out of the mix. One of the disadvantages that you'll see bandied about French press coffee is that the coffee ends up sitting on the depleted grounds in the end. And actually, if you do this step with the filter, it eliminates that problem. Okay, I'm going to rinse that out. And I'm going to close up my thermos. And I am ready to serve it. Nothing left to do now but pour and enjoy. Here's to you. Perfect. Strong, rich, yet not bitter. That's it. Let me summarize for you. Grind your beans right before you make the coffee. Preheat your French press. Put the coffee beans in. Weigh them. Put 15 times as much 200-degree water in there. Stir it up real well. Set your timer for around 4 minutes and 15 seconds. When the timer goes off, push your plunger down. As an extra step, you can filter the coffee into your thermos travel mug. That's it, my friend. Enjoy.